What's up, guys? Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for watching. My name is Bianca. So a few days back, I was looking back and thinking about the very first time that I started dating. I figured out that it was a very short experience, but there are a couple of lessons that I can pick up from that experience that can help someone, especially if you happen to have a daughter who is getting into those teenage years. If you have a sibling, if you have anybody that you know who is just starting to experience dating, this might help them. So the very first time that I started dating, it actually lasted for not more than 2 months, probably a month and a half. I was 17 years old. I was still in school, my final secondary school year, okay? So this is the year that I was going to write my exams, my O-level examinations. So there happened to be this very cute guy at the school that I used to go to. So he was like, I think 1 year older than me, definitely. And he was at the same school. He was doing his high school there. So I met this guy. We started talking, then, well, one thing led to another, and I found myself dating this person. Now, as I was dating this guy, firstly, let me just tell you guys, it happened to be a secret. I didn't share it with anyone, like not even my best friends. At school, I used to have my best friend, and we had agreed with my best friend. We were like, no, we are not going to start dating until after we write our examination. So this was like, I can't tell her. She's going to be disappointed. So my best friend didn't know. Nobody at home knew about it except for just one cousin brother of mine. He's the only person that I told. He's the only person who knew about this little relationship of mine. So it lasted for like, I think just 2 months, and then we broke it off because, well, my older brother started suspecting that I was dating this person, and it didn't go down well. He was like, no, you can't be dating, you can't be. There was just a lot of external pressure. So me and this very cute guy decided, hey, it won't work, and we decided to call it quits. I was only 17, guys. That was my first relationship. Lasted for like 1.5 months or so, and I think we had only gone at like 3 or 4 dates. There are we don't even have that much of dates to talk about when it comes to this first experience of mine with dating. So the reason why I'm sharing this story with you guys is I just want to share some of the reflections that I've had and some of the lessons and that I've taken from that experience that might be able to help anyone. The first lesson that I have is I wish I had started dating when I had gotten a little older, because, well, of course, I started dating when I was 17. But then once we broke it off with that guy, I spent like a whole other year or two before attempting to date again. I wish I had waited until I had gotten older, because I realized that when I was in that relationship, this guy was cute, okay? And this is a period in my life. I was like 17. That is when my body was, developing. Some parts were growing bigger, things like that. I was very insecure. My self-esteem was pretty low during those days. I didn't think I was beautiful. I didn't think I just didn't think so highly of myself. So when I saw this guy, I was like, oh, okay, so this person likes me. And I started to put value on myself as a result of this person. I gave them the power to give me value, because alone I just didn't think I was enough. I didn't think I was pretty enough. I didn't think I was intelligent enough. I just didn't think highly of myself. And this guy came and said, well, I like you. And I was like, oh, he's cute. He's a good guy. So that must mean I'm something. So I started valuing myself as a result of another person, which is something that is wrong. It's very wrong to do that. So I wish I had gotten older. I wish I had gotten, much more confident in myself. And I wish I believed in myself and thought I was pretty and thought I was all that. until before starting to date. I wish I knew that. That is one regret that I have. Not so much of a regret, but that's just something that if I was to give advice to a young teenager who is about to start dating, I'll ask them, are you really sure of what you're doing? Do you really value yourself? Do you think you're beautiful? Are you confident enough? Are you mature enough? So I wish I had waited. I wish I'd waited until I had gotten older, more mature, more confident, and I wish I could believe in myself the way that I believe in myself now before starting to attempt to date. The other lesson that I figured out I could take from my first experience with dating is that time I was not mature enough to know what I wanted. Like I was 17, I was still a teenager. Maybe some people at 17 are like mature and stuff, but I wasn't. I didn't even have an idea of the kind of men whom I would want as a life partner. I hadn't planned it, I hadn't thought about it. This was something that I just decided in a rush to get into. And lucky enough, thank God, it ended as soon as it began. I didn't have standards as far as a life partner is concerned. As far as character is concerned, things like that. I didn't know what I wanted even from life, even for myself. I didn't know what kind of career I wanted, which direction I wanted my life to take, things like that. I hadn't thought about it. So I wish before I had started to attempt to date, I wish I had at least an idea of, what I want from life, what are my expectations when it comes to a life partner. So that is the other lesson that I took out from that experience. If you are deciding on starting to date, if you have a daughter, make sure you tell them, you teach them to know what they want first, to have expectations, to have standards. That way, when they get into the dating world, they are aware of what they deserve, what they need, and what they want. So, funny thing, when I was thinking about my first experience with dating, the one thing that I had, one of the things that I had together were my physical boundaries. Like with this guy, I remember we dated for like 2 months. So I remember him asking me for a hug, and I was like, no, I don't hug. I don't do hugs. So we would meet, and I would just like give him a handshake, and that was it. We would talk, and then, that was it. So I'm just happy and I'm proud of myself. It just makes me happy to know that at that age, at least I had that standard. I knew what my physical boundaries were. And this goes back to the fact that in the African culture, especially right here, our parents emphasize physical boundaries. Like that's the first lesson that we are taught about. I think it's because that's one thing, if we do not get it straight, you end up getting pregnant, you end up getting STIs, diseases, and things like that if you do not have physical boundaries. So our parents tend to emphasize physical boundaries on top of all the other values and principles that we had, and I had it covered. I was like, no, we're not hugging, we're not doing all that, okay? We just handshaking, and that was it. And looking back, I'm actually happy and I'm actually proud of myself that I had that principle. So continue to teach your children, continue to teach your siblings, your daughters, those values, and even your sons, because everyone needs to have these physical boundaries. I also figured out that at that age, I was 17. To me, at that age, it wasn't important if the person that I was dating went to church or didn't go to church. Like it was just a coincidence that this particular guy that I was dating for the first time, who was a year older than me, he was 18 and I was 17. Him and I, we went to the same church, but this was just a coincidence. This wasn't something planned. It wasn't like I was asking him, hey, which church do you go to? Then he told me. It was just a coincidence. Even if he didn't go to the same church as I went to, I wouldn't have cared. It wasn't important for me at that time. Now I realize, now I'm a bit older, it's actually one of the first things that I look for before anything else. Do we have the same faith? What are your values, your principles, your beliefs, things like that? Those are now deal breakers. But at that age, now you find some people, when they are still teenagers, that's a critical age, 16, 17, 18. Because some people end up, those people that they date when they are that young, they end up getting married to those people. Some end up falling pregnant. And they would not have considered that important principle. Then they consider it when it's too late, when you cannot get out of that situation. So that's one thing that I figured out that I should have done better. I should have before starting to date, I should have been aware of what I wanted as far as faith, as far as my beliefs, principles, and things like that are concerned. The other thing that I learned is with this particular relationship, like I said at the beginning of this video, I was very secretive, guys. I was very secretive. I was like, no, my best friend is not going to find out. My mom is not going to find out. My dad is not going to find out. Nobody is going to find out. This is going to be my secret, because I was ashamed. Like, it wasn't something that I wanted to do. I had told myself that I was going to start dating after writing my examinations and all. I found myself breaking a principle that I had set for myself, and as a result, I was secretive. Now, it didn't affect me as an individual being secretive about it. There was no harm, nothing happened in my case, but it might happen that once you're secretive with whom you're dating, what if you end up doing things that you're not supposed to be doing with that person? You do not know this person, you need to tell someone, and you need to tell someone older. Like the second person that I did it better. Like people at home knew who I was dating, and they were part of my decision making as far as this person was concerned, which I didn't do the first time that I started dating. I wish I had done that. Probably somebody could have given me better advice, like, hey, don't you think you're still too young? Do you really like this person? Why do you want to date this person? Because being honest, the only reason why I wanted to date this person, of course, this was a cute person, and when you're a teenager, these are the things that you look for. You're like, is this person cute? But the other reason why I dated this person is because I wanted to validate myself. I wanted, my self-esteem was really low, so I just wanted to make myself feel better, to give myself more worth and more value. And I was trying to get that through dating this person, because I thought another person could add value to me. So maybe if I had shared these issues with someone, I could have gotten help. Someone could have told me that you are beautiful and precious the way you are. You just need to give yourself time to realize that. You need to realize your worth before you start looking for your worth in other people. So I wish I hadn't been secretive about whom I was dating. Thank God this was just a good boy. Thank God nothing bad happened in that situation. But it's my advice to young people who are starting to date. You need to share those kinds of things. Have someone that you trust, be it your brother, your sister, even your parents. We should normalize talking about such things with our parents. It should become like routine. Lastly, the thing that I would like to talk about, I've decided to call this space boundaries. So this person that I was dating, we were at the same school. We were not in the same class or level, like he was a level higher than me, but it was basically the same school, the same environment. It was really difficult for me, especially after we broke up, after like those 2 months of dating. Seeing this person became difficult and awkward. I think maybe it's because I was still too young to handle the fact that, well, we have broken up, and there are self-esteem issues that come into play. You are ashamed of that relationship because you had done it, but in your heart, it wasn't the right thing to do. So it was really difficult for me. And from that time going onwards, I made a decision. I wasn't going to date someone who was at the same school as I was, not at the same college as I was. I'm just not comfortable with having a person that I'm dating at the same space with me all the time. Because what if you break up and it doesn't work out? Then how are you going to look at each other? Are you going to be mature enough to face each other without those feelings of, one person looking down upon the other, and, being ashamed or being jealous when you start to see that person moving on? So I personally, it worked for me not to date. It worked for me not to date a person who was in the same environment as I was. It might not work for another person, but it worked for me. So yes, guys, these are some of the lessons that I learned from dating, my very first experience with dating when I was still 17. I hope that they help someone out there. And please, if you happen to have daughters, young girls in your care, talk to them, be open to them, and let them know that they can talk to you about such issues anytime. It's really important, because they end up making such decisions on their own, and sometimes they expose themselves to danger. They expose themselves to being molested, sexually abused, emotionally abused, and they have no one to talk to, because there is no that open line of communication. So guys, remember to like, subscribe, comment, and share if you find this video helpful. Until next time. Cheers.